the big news you may or may not have heard, and it's kind of inconsequential because it's kind of been felt like this way for a long time, but the legendary Billy Beane has been promoted, or whatever you want to say, call it, into a senior advisory role, and is stepping away from his duties as the president of baseball operations that he's held for essentially 25 years with the Oakland A's. So he's going to be able to focus more on non-baseball projects, which he's famously involved with. I'm sure you've heard of the Fenway Group that
Yes.
owns many things. They own, of course, the Red Sox. They also own a NASCAR team. They own Liverpool FC over there in the Premier League in England. He is pursuing other interests within that group. He's still, of course, involved with the A's, but they call it a senior advisory role. So I'm not
So
exactly sure what that means.
That is why, because I think we talked about this last season.
He couldn't be that involved with the Fenway Group if he was running the A's. It's kind of a conflict of interest.
Because he really wanted to get involved in the soccer end of things.
Yeah, kind of the analytics side, I think is what they were talking about. So that's starting.
So that's what he's doing. Wow.
Yeah. So good for him. I guess
that too.
That begs the question: what is the legacy of Billy Beane and Major League Baseball? I mean, he's had a book written about him that you and I love and have talked about ad nauseum. He's had a movie made out of that book. He's been played by Brad Pitt, of all people. He's had a pretty charmed existence.
He sure has, and has no world championships to show for it.
Bingo. That's the irony of all this. He's one of the more famous general managers that have ever lived, and yet he's never won a world championship. So, again, the summation, the final lines of Moneyball in the movie is Peter Brown telling Billy, "You changed the game. We changed this." But it was, they were celebrating a 20-game winning streak in which a season where they got beat by the Yankees again in the playoffs. So it's a confusing legacy, I guess, because I respect him. He's part of the reason that book kind of rekindled my interest in baseball way back when, 20 years ago.
Right.
Kind of kickstarted things. It also helped that the Cubs were really good back in 2003 and were kind of on the ascension. It also helped that the Tigers were good a couple years after that, and your White Sox were good. Everything was very competitive baseball for every team that I may or may not be interested or rooted against. It was a fascinating, fun time. But I don't know. I've always liked Billy Beane, but you got to question. He did all this and then never got it done, and you could blame A's ownership again, which I am very happy to do, which I will blame ownership for most of the problems with any team I root for. I think that's where it's got to lay. I think that blame for the loss, the lack of championships, it's not because Billy Beane fucked it up. He was an aggressive trader at the trade deadlines, as we've seen. He was not scared to make big deals when he could, but he was also not scared to just tear the shit down to the core several times as he's done. But was he forced to do that? And I think we've seen that it's pretty obvious that he has been forced. But I don't know what I know you've got thoughts about Billy Beane in general. I think you already expressed part of it, but
yeah, I mean, I think it does fall on ownership, though. I think he rewrote the approach to the game. I know Theo was quoted as being annoyed when Moneyball came out, like as if trade secrets were being shared for teams who were already in the analytics game, because we all know. I mean, didn't the Tigers just add an analytics department like 10 years ago or something? Good old hell.
Sadly, not even. It was more
5 years ago. Yeah, whatever. So he rewrote the book. He put it out there. Everyone sort of, for the most part, jumped on board after that. But you wonder, actually, I don't even wonder. I know if they had the money, if ownership had just opened up those purse strings and said, yeah, you can go you can keep Giambi, or you can, whatever you can.
Tahada,
Yeah,
or
Tejada, you can
all those steroids guys.
yeah, but seriously though, they probably would have won a World Series like when he was GM there. Um, but the reason they got beat by the other teams was because they spent the money on the best talent at the time. And
They took the analytics and took it to the next level and
right,
added the
exactly.
insane spending on top of it. So
That's what the Cubs did in 2016. They took the analytics to the next fucking level. That's
that's the
what,
majority of baseball now is
yeah,
everyone's analytically tuned in. It's just who decides to go the extra 2% or whatever it is to get the best players on top of that. So
right. So, like, at the end of the day, like, Moneyball's a great book. Um, it's an enjoyable movie too. That doesn't really get the, because it was made into a movie. You don't get the full enjoyment of the book, but it's
no, they
still
don't.
super
They
entertaining.
fail to mention the incredible pitching staff that
Yeah, yeah, right. I know. Yeah,
apparently
it's so
they won
glossed
20 games.
over.
Yeah, apparently they won 20 games because Scott Hatterberg was walking at first base. So they failed to mention Mark Mulder or
Yeah,
Zito
right. Exactly.
to Hudson.
But at the same time, it's like it's um it's disappointing. I'm sure as he steps away from baseball, it is going to be a huge disappointment. He's probably has two huge disappointments. One, he was considered a generational talent and didn't produce on the field. And then
Oh,
also he was considered the pioneer and a forward thinking GM that was competing with the Yankees with 37,000 versus 137 million versus 120 million.
yeah,
And
whatever it
but
was.
that proved to be also the reason they could never go over the top. So I think for him, baseball probably at the end of the day turns into more of a stain in a way than even though he obviously has a love and passion for the game, but I think it's more of a stain on his life probably,
Wow.
or a
Eh,
disappointment than
that might-
than a success
yeah,
story.
I think he's gonna look back fondly on it, but I think that lack of championships is gonna gnaw at him. Equally disappointing is the A's trading away the best catching prospect on the market, Sean Murphy, not prospect, the legit Gold Glover, the best catcher out there available for basically nothing.
Well, that's what they like to do in the off season nowadays.
If you got the best commodity out there, how can you not extrapolate the most for him? And it's just typical A's, recent A's strategy. I don't know what you call it, but they got trade away a really weird three-way deal with the Braves, Brewers, and A's. The Braves get Murphy. The Brewers get Wilson Contreras' brother, William Contreras, and the A's get a bunch of scraps. So I'm not. I mean, maybe they know more than we do. That's what they live on, but it doesn't look good on the surface, and it's just another disappointing punctuation to 2022 for the Oakland A's.
Word Hole Media.